New York.
That's awesome. Oh, I gotta turn my mic on. Yours on?
Should be.
Okay, we're good.
Yeah, one's green. That's hot.
Green is good.
All right, ready to roll?
Ready to roll.
Let's do it.
Go for it.
All right.
Episode 2.
Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Lending Podcast, Episode 2. We are your hosts. I'm John Burnham. This is Jeff Jones.
Hello.
And we are excited to bring another episode to you today. What are we going to talk about, Jeff?
Man, we are going to talk about something amazing today.
Okay.
So what that is the strategies for winning your home. Getting your dreams to come true by getting that best offer in.
That's right. Winning the offer. How to structure the contract to win the offer. Now, we have so many amazing real estate professionals watching this right now that already know all of these things, or perhaps most of these things.
Yep.
This is really some insight from our closest referral partners. And the things that we think are important as maybe a buyer or a lender that need to be on the contract, I was really surprised to find out there are some other intangibles that maybe there's some folks out here that really hadn't thought about.
It's amazing what happens when you talk to your friends and your realtor partners in this
Yes.
industry. So all of us are in our little silos of our industries. We're in loans. People are in, real estate agents, insurance agents, title companies. And, what we need to do is continue to mingle, continue to have those conversations that aren't just surface, but
That's right.
dig into the details of like, what will make us get this deal done.
That's right. So we did a little experiment.
I love
I made 10 calls recently to 10 of our top referral partners, and many of whom were very high volume listing agents. And I said, okay, so you see a lot of contracts come over. What stands out to you on a contract as a listing agent? What stands out that helps put one buyer's offer ahead of another buyer's offer? Because this happens, right? You have two contracts potentially or more. The sales price is similar. The closing time frame is similar. The earnest money may be similar. So what is it about those offers that make them different? Why does a seller pick one over the other? And so we're going to bring that to you today.
Nice.
And we have our top
This is
6.
like the secret sauce.
This is secret sauce.
Yes.
I feel like this is a secret sauce.
It's good.
And so it's the 6 C's of a contract. I guess the contract would be the 7th C, but this is the 6 C's of a contract.
Who doesn't love alliteration?
That's right. That's right.
If it rhymes, it must be true.
That's right, exactly. So we're going to start with communication and collaboration. So believe it or not, the first phone call that I had about this very topic with one of my top listing agents, she said, happened to be a lady, she said what she notices from the first phone call that a buyer's agent, when they approach her with a potential buyer making a potential offer, is the clarity in the communication, the timing of the communication, the professionalism, and of course, how the offer comes over. We're going to get to that in a second, the details of the contract. But that initial contact, that initial communication and collaboration with a listing agent is so important. Build some rapport, build some relationship there, and open those lines of communication with the listing agent, because we don't know what's going on behind the scenes.
Right.
Do they have 5 other offers? Do they have 0? What is the seller's true motivation? And you might pick up on some things that really help give you leverage as a buyer or buyer's agent.
Yeah, and I feel like communication, more and more, good communication, clear communication, more and more is becoming a higher value for a lot of people.
Yes.
As we get into home sales, it's one of the most emotional transactions because not only is it the largest, but it's your home.
That's right.
Right? So there's a lot of emotion tied into it. And what happens with unclear communication, I feel, is it feels disrespectful. Like they're making me guess what they're really saying. They're being jaded with if there's another, bid on the market that I'm competing against. I'm not sure. There's this phrase of like clarity is kind.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are clear with what you're really presenting in communication,
I like that.
It's honorable to the person that's receiving it. If you're unclear with what you're communicating and you're playing kind of a little bit of a shadow game with your back and forth text or emails or phone calls, and you're kind of only half telling the story, it feels very unkind to that person. And when it's their largest transaction of their life and you are not clear, it will backfire.
That's right. And to piggyback on that, one of my other agents said, keep in mind, this may be incredibly stressful for the seller. We know it's
Yeah.
somewhat stressful for the buyer, especially if it's your first home. There are just
Right.
some natural stresses. We don't know what's going on either side. Let's be kind through
Yes.
clarity, right?
Yeah.
And really present a professional offer. And so these first three C's kind of go together. So it was
So
communication,
communication, collaboration.
collaboration, and completeness. And so completeness was such an interesting word to hear, the
Yeah, unpack
completeness
that a
of
little
the
bit.
offer, because the example that this agent used on the listing side is when an offer comes over and there are some blanks that have not been filled out,
Oh dear.
or there are some addendums that are missing. The lead-based paint addendum, or the third-party financing addendum is not filled out correctly. So it really is kind of a measure twice, cut once approach. Slow down so you can speed up, right? And so the completeness of the offer, what this agent told me was it gives her an idea immediately, first contact with this potential buyer and buyer's agent, whether or not the deal is going to go smooth or if it's going to be bumpy all the way to closing.
Right.
Because of that, maybe lack of completeness shows a little disorganization,
Mm-hmm.
and perhaps it shows that it's just not, it hasn't been really prioritized to make it a very seamless offer. It's rushed. It's get it in, get it in, get it in. And again, take a step back,
Yeah.
make sure all those blanks are filled out. So if you're a buyer out there and you're thinking, what's going to make my offer stand out? It is really about having a very complete offer that has all the information, the things that you need as a buyer that are a win for you, but also through communication, hopefully with your buyer's agent, finding out from the seller what's important to that side and
Right.
making sure that those needs are met as best as possible on both sides.
No, completeness is key. I think I like that a lot. I mean, highly regulated industry where contracts are involved and the government looks over our shoulders, and so does the state. Every I needs to be dotted, every T needs to be crossed.
That's right.
Blanks are never accepted.
Nope.
And so, yeah, that's key. I like
Yep.
that.
Yep.
What's the third C?
So certainty.
Nice.
Certainty is huge.
Are you
And
sure?
so
Are you sure?
I'm sure.
Sure, it's certainty.
Certainty.
Good.
I'm sure it's certainty. I'm certain. So here was what one of my agents said. Good friend of mine and an agent that I've known since 2011. So we're going on 13 years of working together. And he said if he's on the listing side, he wants to know without a shadow of a doubt that offer that's come in has some certainty. What helps with the certainty? Well, that could be talking to the lender. We talk to every single listing agent when an offer goes in. Why? Number one, I want to establish some rapport. I want them to know they can get me
Right.
on my cell phone. I want them to know that I've reviewed the documents. Our team has worked with this buyer. We are in position to close this loan, and the communication lines are open when there are some potential bumps. Because let's be honest, it's real estate. It's never perfect every single time, right? The goal is to have a trained, licensed professional at the helm to get you through those bumps, to get you through those obstacles so we can get to a smooth closing. But it's just like an airline flight. You take off and it's smooth. In the air, you might have a
Yep.
few bumps and turbulence, put on your seatbelt, and then we're going to land safely. And that's what we experience
Right.
sometimes, mid-flight. And so the communication lines being open are so critical. And the certainty up front that we know what we're doing, we're competent, or the lender you're using knows what they're doing, they're competent, and they are going to be able to overcome small obstacles to get it closed on time and smooth and provide certainty for
Yeah.
that seller. So we see some loose offers sometimes. We hear about the loose offers because we rescue those deals, and they come to us
Right.
because the pre-approval wasn't complete, it wasn't thorough. The offer may have gone in with the buyer thinking that they were pre-approved. There was perhaps some certainty that was displayed to the listing side, but they weren't able to execute on
Right.
it. And so I think that's such a huge piece of the puzzle is who you're working with that can get you to the finish line.
I agree. I think that the team is the strength of your offer. The people around you that are going to make it happen, that are going to get you to that finish line on time,
That's right.
as promised, with good communication, good complete information. That's critical. So, like, a few days ago, a realtor of mine putting an offer in, you know, 10 out of 10 times I offer, do you want me to talk to the listing agent for you and,
Right.
show the strength of the buyer, that they are fully pre-approved and not
What do they
just
say?
pre-qualified? And they're like, that would be great. But ended up the listing agent called me within minutes,
Love that.
which was always a win.
We welcome
Like, they
that.
reach out.
Yes. Yes.
And what's amazing is, as a part of the benchmark team, they had a transaction 2 years ago with another benchmark loan officer.
Oh,
Shout out
nice.
Marsha Wiley, good job. And Marsha was, supporting that buyer, and this other person was a listing agent again 2 years ago. That deal made her money because it closed on time, did well. Marsha did a great job. Benchmark's amazing. And so the strength of our pre-approval letter and having that conversation may have been the tipping point on that offer.
Absolutely. If
Because
there's a tie,
you
it
know,
could go to
they're like, we
that
know benchmark,
relationship. That's
we
right.
know these guys do a good job.
That's right. That's so important. I think that is overlooked, and we understand we're consumers as
Yeah.
well, and so a buyer is looking for what they believe is the best deal on a mortgage. Perhaps for them, it is that lowest rate they can find in the market, or those lowest closing costs, or whatever sort of trigger point is really motivating their decision. When in reality, there are times that those offers don't get accepted because the listing agent
Yeah.
is not sure, doesn't believe there's certainty with that offer closing.
Imagine if you're taking your family on a family vacation during a week-long vacation that you planned for 12 months. And you're going, I don't know, let's say the Caribbean. Okay. And you have your reservation for your hotel booked. You go buy airline tickets. What if they say, we may get you there on time
Oof.
and charge you, $1,000 for a family of four? Or you talk to an airline agent and they go, I will get you there on time. I guarantee it. And I might be $1,200. Who would you go with?
I'm taking the certainty.
You're taking the certainty.
That my family's
All right,
going on
that's
vacation.
number 3, right there.
Exactly.
All right, what's the fourth
I
one?
love that example. So the fourth one is calendar. So and this is the fifth C, right? So we have communication, collaboration, completeness, certainty, calendar. Let's talk about the calendar for a little bit. So
I live and die by my calendar.
we all do, right? Do you know how many times we've seen a contract come over where the closing date was on a holiday?
Hey, leap year this year.
On a Sunday, and then I've just
I got
recently
one on
heard
leap
that there's some title company softwares that don't
Yes,
recognize
we have to move it.
229, the leap.
It doesn't exist in their software. So
and
we're
we
like,
know
we'll
it's-
move it, no biggie. We'll
It's every 4 years.
We're going to close a week early.
That's right.
anyway.
I was actually born 2 days apart from a leap year. I
No
could have been a
kidding.
229. That's right.
That's
right.
on my
Close.
dad is a few hours away from leap year.
Oh,
so
wow.
he's a February 28th.
28.
Yep.
Yeah, that's great.
Well, happy birthday early.
So, well, thank you. Yeah. So the calendar is really important. So what does that mean? That means what day of the week are we closing? When are we closing? Is everybody available to sign on that day? We have a lot of times where we get a contract
It's important.
the day after the contract is executed. We find out that the buyer or the seller is going to be at a conference or going to be out of the country or going to be traveling, on the closing date. And that's okay when we know that up front. It's just tweaking that closing date a day or two might make a huge difference and just remove some stress from the transaction. So really looking at the calendar, communicating with your lender as well. When are they able to close this loan? There are times where certain lenders are closed on certain holidays and certain lenders are not. Certain title companies are closed on certain holidays and others are not. So just really looking at that calendar. Also, if I might say, as a side note, the third-party financing addendum, those dates, that's not business days, right? Those are calendar days.
Right.
And so a lot of times we'll see a third-party financing addendum that's filled out that expires on a Sunday or expires on a Saturday.
That doesn't help.
Reality, we might as well just put it on Friday. If you can cut 2 days off of the third-party financing,
offer.
it looks a little stronger on paper, maybe a little stronger, right? Because it's the same day. Friday is the deadline for us if it's a Sunday, because we're not going to get an underwriting approval on a Saturday or a Sunday, most likely. So that was really important. So it really had some good conversations.
So that's good for calendar, but also in the seller's situation, right? Their calendar is just as important as the buyer's.
So important, yes. And that goes back to the communication.
And knowing what options are there, like a lease back.
Yes, oh, for sure. The collaboration on the calendar with things like a lease back. I mean, closing fast is great. And we close a lot of loans quickly. We encourage it. But there's a lot of times where sellers don't really know where they're going yet. And so they want to close quickly so that they can get those proceeds from the sale,
and have
right?
certainty, right?
And have some certainty on their next purchase. Maybe they're building a house or whatever, or doing that next purchase. So it's nice to get that seller, that loan funded quickly, but the seller may not be ready to move out.
Right.
And so we've got to work on what's important to them. It kind of works for both sides. Again, if that's a lease back or what have you. And we're seeing more of those right now.
So calendar's number 4. What's 5?
Okay. Closing details. So closing details. It kind of goes
where
without
the devil
saying.
lives, in the details.
It
right?
does, in the details.
Yeah.
So things like the title company. we see that a lot where we'll get an offer that goes in. The title company is written on there. The listing agent's already suggested a title company. Buyer is trying to negotiate that. Sometimes it's negotiable per se. Sometimes it's really kind of firm. We need to close with one, but there's some back and forth, and we get contracts sometimes where the closer, we might get let's just pick a big name title company. I'm not going to say one, but just think of a big name, and that's the only name that's on the contract. We don't know the location. We don't know the address. We don't know the escrow officer, and we're hunting that stuff down, that information down. So really having those closing details. We're closing with this person at this title company at this address, and it really allows us to move quicker right in the beginning. So things like home warranty as well. Who's paying for that, right? And are we getting a home warranty? We should, I believe, right now for a lot of our buyers, especially our first timers. But I understand that's a negotiable
So for those that
item as
might not
well.
understand what a home warranty is,
Home warranty, the way it has been explained to me, and I've had a home warranty myself, it covers everything in your house with a moving part.
So it's more of like when you go to buy a car and they're going to say, well, we're going to put this under factory warranty or dealer warranty.
That's right.
It's kind of in the dealer warranty category
Sure.
if it was comparable. But they're going to cover certain kind of problems that may exist with your appliances, with your systems.
That's right.
And it'll have different grades to it. So it's not every home warranty is the same, right? So you do need to shop it, and you need to see the different tiers of what a high warranty is compared to low warranty.
Yes. And that's really good. When we had our home warranty, it covered our refrigerator. When we bought our house, our refrigerator went out. We took the existing refrigerator that was there, right? And as many home buyers do.
Right.
And then 6 months later, it was out of commission, and our home warranty covered almost like 90% of the cost of a brand new fridge. So they're really great cost hedges for first time buyers, because things like AC, especially in Texas, your furnace, your hot water heaters, your appliances.
I agree. Like, I think that when it comes to buying a home, you're worried that you might buy a lemon, right? Or the things in the house might start falling apart and you're going to have unforeseen expenses.
Right.
This is a way to help minimize those expenses within your first year.
Absolutely.
It's also, we encourage everyone to get a home inspection.
Yes.
So like that, home inspection, home warranty, I think just give a lot of peace of mind, especially for first-time home buyers.
No question.
Like they don't even know what they don't know. So
yeah, and that home inspection is so critical. And that also comes back to the completeness and collaboration and communication on the contract of even I've heard of agents lining up their inspector over the phone for the next day or the following day. So when the offer goes in, you're communicating to the listing agent, hey, we've already got our inspector teed up. We can do this pretty quickly. Maybe it's 2, 3, 4 days, depending on the calendar time of week that the offer goes in, over the weekends, et cetera. But really trying to move as quickly on some of those upfront items as possible, again, to give certainty, to show that professionalism and that initiative to a listing agent, that rest of the process is going to go smooth. And one of the things that I talked about with one of my agents is there are some unique properties, of course, in our area that may need specific inspections, like a septic, right, or a well inspection.
Especially if the septic's old.
And chances are that may not be something they can get turned around in 24 to 48 hours. Sometimes there are certain inspectors that are booked out a week or two.
The specialists.
So communicating, certain specialists for inspection. So communicating that to the listing side. Why do we need a 10-day option? Because this is the inspection company that we want to use, and it's going to take them 8 days to get out there. And it just opening those lines of communication. Again, that may or may not work for the seller, but at least they know why you're asking for 14 days or 10 days. And so, and then weaving this in to the financing side, and we could go down a totally different path on why it's important to get pre-approved up front and go through underwriting up front. And we will on future episodes, because that's such an important topic. The third-party financing is such a critical piece of the contract, and having communication with the lender on how many days that you need on that third-party financing, that, from my personal experience, can make or break a contract with the listing agent. If
deal breakers is
for sure.
We're gonna do a whole episode on deal breakers. It sounds like that can be a good one.
You bet.
This one, I think we're getting close to being at the end of wrapping it up.
That's right. So let's recap the 6 C's real quick.
So number 1,
communication.
Nice. 2,
collaboration.
Love it. 3,
3 is certainty of the
Oh,
contract.
my favorite.
Yes.
4.
4 is the calendar.
Yes, believe it or not,
Yes.
that does break deals.
Yes.
And then the last one.
I got out of order completeness
Oh, okay.
and closing details. So communication, collaboration, completeness, certainty, the calendar, make sure we're closing on the right day, and the closing
The
details.
secret sauce, according to not only our referral partners, but also our experience.
This is a compilation of 10 of our top referral partners
Love
right
it.
here that are on the listing side reviewing
Love
offers
it.
that are going to accept your offer or not.
Yeah.
And how do we put your offer to the top of the pack? This hopefully is going to be some
And if
information that
there
helps.
are other things that people think are just as important, please
Of course.
put that in the comments. If you have other topics you'd like to see, we'd love to hear from you. So please put that also in the comments.
Absolutely.
And like and subscribe to the Lending Podcast.
Take care. We'll see you soon.
All right, take care.